Howdy, guys. Welcome to night 45 inside the Big Brother house. This is Cliff Notes from outside the Big Brother house. Just before we get going, just to let y'all know, they had an earthquake, I don't know, in the middle of the night last night, and so hence the little background for you. No one's hurt, but gave a little excitement to the evening. All right, so it is night 45. We had nominations yesterday, and for those of you who don't want spoilers, close your ears. Shouldn't be listening here anyway. But they had nominations. Memphis put up Kevin and Davon. Not a huge surprise. There was talk that maybe David would go up in maybe Davon's place. Didn't happen. So Kevin and Davon are on the block, and we've got some conversations taking place after the HOH votes last night, after the nominations today. People planning and just figuring out what they're going to do. I got to say ahead of time, this night, I guess let's call it, the theme is David Alexander. David, we've made fun of his game a little bit, some of his missteps. He's had a few of those, but tonight was a night to feel a little sympathy for David. I certainly was feeling bad for him. He's involved in a lot of the conversations, and just a tough night for David, as you'll see as we go through the conversations. So let's get right into it. All right, first of all, in the comic room, conversation between Davon and Kevin. Davon is hoping that the two of them being put up is just they're both pawns, hoping that Memphis actually has a backdoor plan. I assume that they're hoping that backdoor plan is against David. Davon is saying that if she gets house guest choice for the veto competition, which will be taking place today, that she's going to pick Nicole. It's interesting. Kevin says that he'll probably pick Dani or Enzo, but the key thing is that neither one of them wants to pick David, and they're hoping he doesn't get picked for the veto competition, because David plays, David wins, David potentially he can't go up himself. He could pull one or the other of them off, but then the other one likely goes home. So they don't want David to play just in case there's a backdoor plan in place, so it keeps David not safe for a renom in a backdoor situation. Kevin is thinking that David used the vote last night. They're saying that he voted to vote out Tyler to vote out Ian, when really he voted to vote out Tyler. But they're saying that he used that vote last night to buy membership into the Guys Alliance, again, by voting to save Tyler, which he didn't do. He actually voted out Tyler, tried to vote out Tyler. Davon is saying, though, yeah, he may have bought membership in that alliance, but it's only 14 days worth of membership. In other words, Davon and Kevin, and then David is out after that. Well, first of all, he didn't do that. He voted just the way they wanted. He voted to expel Tyler. But they don't believe that. And here's the other thing. Sometimes buying yourself 2 weeks, 14 days, sometimes that's all it takes anyway. So, there you go. All right, in the photo room, Dani and Enzo are talking. Dani is telling Enzo that she is certain Tyler and Christmas have a final two. They do. It's called the Carolinas. They have a final two. The interesting thing is just that Dani would tell Enzo this. People are starting to try to identify targets and alliances within the alliance, certainly. All right, in the kitchen, they're having not game related, just a chicken cook-off between Davon and Kevin. Davon's cooked a lot of chicken. Kevin's never cooked it before, so they have a cook-off. The winner is Kevin. Kevin wins, even though this is his first time to ever make chicken. Apparently, his secret ingredient was he mixed in a little pancake batter along with the coating mix itself. The house guests were all judging one or the other, said one tasted like Chick-fil-A, one tasted like KFC. So, hey, they must have both been pretty good. All right, David talking by himself to the cameras in the photo room. He's very upset with Davon. He's saying that after the vote and competition last night, Davon referred to David using a disparaging term, even though David had done exactly what Davon had asked him to do, which was vote out Tyler. They just don't believe that he voted out Tyler. They think he flipped and voted out Ian instead. He didn't. They don't believe that. All right, so later in the love room, Davon and Kevin are talking. Davon is saying, hey, everyone is treating David differently because they think David's now working with the other side. This idea by mainly Nicole, a little bit Tyler, this idea of them to create this wedge between Kevin and Davon and David over here by trying to make it look like David had voted to save Tyler, really working. It's working much more than I anticipated because it really has Davon and Kevin upset. Davon is convinced that Nicole voted to save Ian because of the look on her face when the vote totals were read. If Nicole voted to save Ian, then that means David had to have voted for Tyler. So that she says, I'm certain that Nicole voted to protect Ian. Kevin is saying maybe, but David is swearing he stuck to his word that he voted out Tyler. He's sticking to his word. So Kevin maybe not quite as certain as Davon is, but there's certainly the wedge that has been created based on that vote last night. All right, so Dani comes in, and Davon starts telling her that they think there's an alliance. Says, hey, what do you think about this theory, Dani, that there is an alliance of Cody and Enzo and Tyler? Why, yes, there is. It's called the triple threat. And they say there's a three of them, and David is getting a 7-day trial. They're trying to bring him in for now. Do y'all think Dani's going to keep this information secret, or is she going to go right back and tell different alliance members about Davon and Kevin identifying some alliances and such? I think that's probably likely. But Davon's spilling the beans about a potential alliance there on the other side. So Davon and Kevin are both telling Dani that David screwed him with the vote last night. Kevin asks Dani, says, are you sure that Nicole voted against Tyler? She didn't, but he says, are you sure? And he says, absolutely. I am positive she voted to save Ian. Now, does Dani know this, or is she just guessing? Not really certain. But Dani says that she's asked, or Davon says, I'm asking because if Nicole didn't vote to save Ian, and I'm bashing David for no reasons, that wouldn't be good. I want to make sure I'm correct if I'm bashing David. She's not. All right, so Dani is suggesting, saying, hey, there's another power out there. Maybe there's a power that allowed a vote to be stolen somehow. We don't know what's going on. I don't know if Dani actually believes that. One, she's got her power, so there's only one other power that's sitting out there. Davon knows that Christmas has a power. She doesn't know what it is. I'm not sure if Dani knows or not either. So don't know if they really think that that's a possibility a vote could be stolen, or they're just kind of spin it a little bit. Just don't know. So Kevin is talking about, now this is a little sad. Kevin mentions that before the eviction ceremony last night, he saw Ian crying in the key room because he was so happy, because he said he had been able to flip the house, flip the vote, and he was going to get to stay. It turned out not to be the case. I feel so sorry for Ian. I hope you're doing fantastic in that multi-million-dollar jury house, wherever it is over in California. Have a blast, my friend. All right. Meanwhile, back to gameplay. Kevin is saying that Memphis told him 2 days ago that Memphis wouldn't put up Kevin, and then he did just that. As soon as Memphis wins HO, he does just that. So he says that Memphis isn't thinking of his jury votes; he's thinking the short game. And Kevin is saying, "I really hope Memphis makes it to the final two, just so I can tell him he's not getting my vote. No way, no how." He had a little more colorful language the way he put it, but paraphrasing there. The chances of a bitter jury this year. What do y'all think? I think a bitter jury with the egos in this house, of people playing these back games and everything, I think it's a very high possibility. We shall see. But here's another question. As more and more people seem to get upset with Memphis and you get some people bitter against them, at what point does it reach where the pendulum switches and suddenly it becomes a good idea to protect Memphis because people may want to drag him to a final two, because who's going to vote for Memphis if he's alienated too many people? I don't know. So it's interesting to see how Memphis plays the rest of this game. All right, Davon is saying that even Enzo has distanced himself from her after she used the veto, that everyone's mad because of that. Well, no, in reality, 2 nights ago, Enzo mentioned in the bathroom, he said that Davon had, I think it may be to Cody, said Davon had told Davon some things that immediately got back to Christmas. And so as a result, Enzo said, I'm through with Davon. I'm not telling Davon anything else, because she doesn't keep a secret. So that's why he's distancing himself from Davon. But she thinks everything going on right now is all because of her using the veto. That's what caused all of this. It's not. It really isn't Davon. All right. Christmas walks in on Kevin and Davon and Dani while they're talking in the love room. She says, oh, whoops, sorry. She immediately leaves. She immediately goes up to the HOH room and tells Memphis that I just walked in and busted Dani in there talking to Kevin and Davon. They can't get a read on Dani's game. They're a little worried that she's talking to the two of them. They can't get a read on her game, but they are worried that she's also very close to Nicole and Cody. And so a little nervous about how that's going to work. Christmas is worried that, hey, if we make it to a final 8 with everyone, that I really am worried that Dani and Cody and Nicole are going to turn around and target you and I at that point. And Memphis said, yeah, we're going to have to be careful. Maybe let's take some shots beforehand if we have to. All right, in the love room, here's some more sympathy thing. I just felt bad for David. David's talking to Kevin, and he's saying that he helped Bailey and Swaggy move. He just recently moved to LA about not even a year ago, just 6 months ago or so. And he helped Bailey and Swaggy move into a new place. He didn't know anyone else in Los Angeles, but they never returned any of his calls to come hang out. Sorry about that, David. He's also saying that there are times when he just doesn't feel like he's liked by anyone. He feels like maybe he's not black enough in this world, that he just didn't fit in. And hey, maybe he's doing a little sympathy, but I don't think so. But he's good, so who knows? But yeah, I felt really bad for David. Cheer up, David. It'll be all right. All right. David has wanted to talk to Davon about the vote and her claims about the vote and the things she said in the kitchen afterwards, but she hadn't wanted to talk to him. So Kevin goes into the bathroom and says, look, Davon, just talk to David. Hear him out. And so she says again she doesn't want to, but agrees to talk. So we reach the we're in the love room. David and Davon are talking. David is saying that he knows that she believes him, that she doesn't believe him in the vote, but she'll see when the season's over and when he watches the feeds that he truly did vote out Tyler. Also, that he tried his hardest in the puzzle competition. Apparently, Davon may have accused him of throwing the competition in the kitchen afterwards, and that's where maybe some of this animosity was created. He threw it so that they would be on the block, and I don't believe it for a second. I'm sure he competed full speed. David is saying after talking to Kevin and learning more about Tyler's play and the role with Bailey's eviction, he felt alone, and so he locked in with Davon and Kevin's plan to vote against Tyler, and he's saying, I did it. Davon continues to push David to say, exactly what did you agree to do? And he says, I agreed to, and I voted to evict Tyler. And David's saying, I don't know what happened with the votes, but I know that you believe Nicole over me, and I can't do anything about it. Davon apologizes for what was said in the kitchen after the competition. David says, thank you for that apology. Davon says that she's on the block because of the vote and not because of the veto. So, earlier she said it was the veto. Now she's saying because of the vote and it's 5-3, that's why I'm on the block. That's not it. Davon would be on the block no matter what. So Davon is saying that she prays she is wrong, but if she is not, that David has sabotaged both of them and their games. And she also tells him, and he says, well, I'm sorry, I didn't. And she said, you were supposed to go before Janelle and Kaiser. You were one of the very first targets, but I'm the one who kept your name off the radar and kept you protected for so long, and now you're doing this to me? You would have been an early target if it wasn't for me. Well, Davon later repeats the conversation to Kevin, including the fact that she was lying about this last little bit. David wasn't an early target. She just threw that in to make him feel a little bit worse. And so he tells Kevin this. Kevin has a look on his face like he's a little bit shocked that she said that. So he's a little taken aback that she threw that part in. But she explains the conversation to him. And we'll get back to that in just a real quick second. So in the bathroom, Davon and Dani are talking. They're wondering if there's going to be a backdoor plan again. Apparently, Memphis wants to talk to anyone who gets to pick to play in the veto today. So we'll see what that's about. Kevin is saying that Memphis wants us to win veto and save ourselves. And he's thinking that maybe Memphis is going to throw it. It's not a bad plan for Memphis because he's thinking, worst case, I'll just put David up instead. So he may not actually care that much about the veto competition. We'll see. So now, after all of that, earthquake, 4.8, and very close nearby. All the house guests popped up, ran over, hidden, or got under door frames, things like that. The live feed's cut, so we don't know exactly what happened or how long it lasted, but hence the background here. All right, so finally, final conversation. In the love room, Davon is talking to the camera alone, and she says this, and I'm pretty much quoting verbatim. I know I was a bit bitchy just now to David, but I will apologize to him later. But I need him to feel bad. So if he did sabotage my game, he can go back and fix it. So she knew what she's doing. She's trying to make him feel bad on purpose. She's playing the game, but here's the thing. David isn't going to be able to fix anything, Davon. It's up to you and the veto. So there we got the veto. Y'all take it easy, guys. I'll see you on 24 hours. Have a fantastic Saturday. SKD 143. Cheers, guys. Bye.